I'm about to put the tunnel brace in. Sorry for the moving light, I just knocked it. The underneath I've just painted with epoxy, same as inside that. That's done with epoxy. I'm now about to screw that on with Tech screws so I can weld it, so I'll do that next. So that's ready to go on. I've been playing around with the mounting points too. Just tilt that a bit. Okay. The mounting points have now changed. Sorry about that. I've put another mounting point on the outside of the reaction plate bolt. So that captures the reaction plate bolt. The other bolt that sits behind that already had a bracket. That's the bracket I used to align the floors. So that is now just nipped up. That one's not nipped up. The other one's nipped up, not too tight, but just enough to make sure there's no movement. So basically the floor's captured, or the main, what do you call it, I suppose the chassis rail there, is captured on both sides of the rail, so it can't move on both rails, the same thing. So that means that I can remove this original bracing point, because I need to take that off so I can get the front bulkhead panel off. So that was always going to come off. This should be enough to brace. I'm not intending really to tip the car upside down when I'm working on the front there. Not that I think that's a problem, because the floor now is quite solid. It's been welded to basically the front bulkhead, to the rear bulkhead, transmission tunnel, all of that's welded in place. So it's quite solid. But in addition to that, I've also put my alignment brace in the middle there, which uses the transmission mounting points, and that's now tied to the rail. So as well as the car being held at the front of the chassis rail there, it's also held to the floor and the cross brace, so it goes across the car in the middle, and of course the original braces of the IRS at the back. So that should be enough to mount the car. When I'm actually working on the rear end, that's all got to be pulled out. I have to have the car upside down. When I do that, by the time I'm doing that, what I'll be doing is putting the brace I had between here and the rear engine stabilizer mount there. So I'll put that back in once I've fixed all of this. So that's just another thing to just to help hold the car, particularly in its inverted position. Once again, not that I think I need it, but it's just an added precaution. But anyway, at this stage, I'll just prepare this for welding. As I say, I'll put the Tech screws in and then start welding that in place. And then I'll move up to the front and I'll fit these bulkhead panels and also the side panels. All of these are now been welded in place, all of the engine frame mounts, so I just need to put the cover plate over and make sure that fits properly. But I may not weld that at this stage, because I'll certainly hold it in place with Tech screws. The reason I may not weld it is I don't know how much access I'm going to need from inside the car, basically inside there, to make repairs. So it's a lot easier if I can pull these panels off to help do those repairs, rather than weld them on and then find myself trying to work in a confined space inside the car. So that's the plan at this stage. I welded the tunnel brace in place, just giving it a coat of primer, just to ensure it doesn't get a surface coat of rust, so that should be fine. So that's done. So the floor is finished. I've welded in the, what am I hitting? Get out from under there. I welded in the lower engine frame mounts, so they're done. Done those both sides, so they're in. I've done a preliminary fit of the bulkhead panels, including the end panels. I've just taken those off to spray that, so I'll put those on in a minute and just put the bolts in to hold the end plate on. So that's done. Not finalised. I've still got a few little tweaks to do on the flanges, but it's good enough for just holding everything in place at the moment. And now what I have to do is to work on getting this off. Now I need to take it off anyway, or I believe I do, because there's rust all the way on the bottom there. It's just rusted out, it's rusted up in here, and there will be rust inside, I'm sure. Now I did see a video on the early ones of the video series built by Many, sorry, which unfortunately didn't last, because I was looking forward to seeing how that this panel might have been taken off. All I saw was just a short video clip of it removed. Now it is held in by a lot of spot welds, and the challenge is to work out where they all are, or which ones you have to take out. Now I'm lucky that one of my viewers pointed out that there is another very good video series made by a Polish fabricator. Now I'll put the details of his name in this video clip. Excellent video, and a very skilled fabricator. What he's doing is rebuilding, and I use that term correctly, a 1961 OTS. It is completely disassembled, and he's actually, bits that aren't assembled he's pulling apart. Now he has pulled this apart, and there's a whole video on this being taken out. Very lengthy videos he does, and unfortunately for me anyway, he does a narration in Polish. Now it's almost worth learning the Polish language to find out what he's saying, because he gives a lot of detail, or verbal detail, and a lot of good video shots. So it's an excellent video. And not only does he remove this, he actually refabricates this whole front panel and everything else. He refabricates all of this and all the various panels inside it. He's an excellent fabricator, highly skilled, and it's a pleasure just to watch him work. And now I don't intend to remake this, I intend to repair it. I'm certainly not as skilled as this fellow is, but you'll see him make this whole section, and he's gradually, and the video series hasn't finished, he's made up at this stage all of this front end. He buys some parts, but a lot of it he fabricates himself. The latest one he's actually fabricating the door skins. So anyway, worth watching, and if you can understand Polish, even better. But anyway, I'm about to start drilling these out. Now, from what I've seen of his video, and I'll watch it a few more times, there are a lot of sections around here. The welds have got to be drilled out along here, here. I'm not sure there's a couple there. Not much along here, except in the centre here. There's a section of welds that have got to be taken out there. That can actually stay on. Where else? All this has to be unstitched all around there. The welds across here, this has to come off so you can get the welds underneath. And of course there's the standard welds around the sides, the bottom, across the top. Now this is going to take a long time to get off. A lot of welds. One of these things I haven't counted. I'd probably be very depressed if I did. There would be hundreds if you add them all up. Not all of them are easy to access. Some of them are better than others, but it's just a case of getting the drill out and starting drilling and see where I end up. But the aim, of course, is to get this off, to see what damage is done behind. I know what damage is done in front, but there will be damage in behind. I know from looking inside the car that the panel that's under this, in through there, under there, that's got holes in it, so that's rusted out. I'll have to replace large sections of that. But it seems to be mainly on this side. Now the one that the fabricator's working on, Jakub is his name, all of this is rusted underneath. I mean, it's a very badly rusted vehicle he started with. Well, not a vehicle, collection of pieces. So that's why he's actually fabricating. He's done fabrication on this, all around here, a lot of fabrication. Luckily, mine isn't quite that bad. Well, not at this stage, until I take this off. Maybe it is. But anyway, I'll start that now. I've now freed up hopefully all the welds. That should come. Nope, still caught on a bit here. A small weld there. There it is. Finally. Okay. Now, most of that panel's alright. I'll clean this up with vinegar, make sure there's no real damage. Apart from this side, needs to be repaired. So that's okay. I'll just take the camera off the tripod. Now, this is why I wanted it off, so I could see the extent of the damage. Surface rust there and there, rusted here on this heater box. So I've got to take that out all the way along here. Rust holes there, rust there. That's what fell inside. And obviously rust up in here. So the next thing I've got to do is to get the end panels out. These bits that I've left in place. I can now get in behind that and take those out. And then it's really the all of this has got to come out so I can repair what's underneath it. So other than that, everything else, all this looks alright. Up in here looks fine. But anyway, a lot more to take out yet, so I'll keep going. I think I've got to take this off first, just so I can get access. Probably. I think, yes, I'll have to. So that comes off. That probably, I'll see if I can keep that in place. And then all that off. So still a lot more to do to make the repairs. Now it's taken me 2 hours to get the two side pieces off. This is the one on the left hand side of the vehicle, which is in this case the driver's side. This is where most of the damage was done. So it's all rusted out on the bottom. Apart from that, getting it out, the number of welds and the position of them, they're just haphazard all over the place. Even if the panel hadn't been rusted, I've probably got to replace it anyway. The other side, this one is a little bit better, but even so, on the engine frame mount area, it's actually got a lot of welds, and it took a lot to get off, so I'm probably leaning towards remaking the end pieces. Now, why they've used so many spot welds at the engine frame mount, I'm not sure. I mean, yes, you do need a number of welds to hold this panel to the engine frame support, which is what this is. This is quite heavy steel, and yes, it does flex a bit. I can flex that. So this does provide support, but to me it just seems a lot of it, too much, too many welds. I won't be putting back as many. I'll be putting back quite a few, making sure the plate is fully covered with welds, but not as many. So it's now off, at least the front panel. Now I'm going to remove this panel, and that panel, because I need to remove that to get the heater channel off. I need to remove this so I can get access. What I'll do with this, I'll put a few Tech screws in, which will give me the position of this. And I'll also put a few Tech screws along the length of this box area too. Once again, to give me the correct position when it goes back. I don't think I'm making a whole new section. I'll wait till I see what's inside. Certainly this bottom edge has to be replaced, because it's probably about 20 mil up. At least it's rusted right through. So the bottom edge needs to be done. I'm not sure whether I need to replace it all, but as for these look reasonably reusable. A couple of holes there, I need to repair those. But all in all, it's come off probably better than I thought. Still not easy to take off, but it's well worth having it off. Just repairing what appeared to be damaged from the outside, which was sort of just along here, would have been a mistake. Because, okay, I may have seen that when I cut some of the sections off to re-weld in, but I wouldn't have seen any of this. So this damage would have been missed. Now it's not evident inside the car except under the box section around here, where there's a few holes through this panel, so that's why this has got to come off. I know in particular this bottom section needs to be replaced, so I'll do that. Anyway, it's going to take a long while to get this off, so I can't see me finishing this area for quite some time. So there's a lot more to take off, a lot to clean up in very awkward areas, and some very careful welding needs to be done to make sure it all fits back together. So at least it's off. Good start. Now I'm removing the heater box. I'll drill most of the welds from this side. The ones in the corner, there are about 3 welds in the corner. So I'll just move that. Over here, which I'll drill from inside the cab. There were 4 welds, basically the width of this piece here, which I can't get from can't get from this side without removing that piece, but I can get them from the other side. But as it turned out, only 2 of them, 2 of the spot welds, were actually holding this bracket in place, or actually holding the box in place. The spot weld prongs had missed the flange. I've separated all of the welds along this end here, and I've just been working on the ones up here. I've got a few more welds to drill out just in there, and I thought I'd just stop here because there might be some people want to know what you use to do these sorts of things if you've never done it before. So I'll just move this tripod a bit closer. Alright, just position the camera. Right, now what I've been doing is drilling the weld first. Now what I tend to do, or what I found the best thing to do, is to actually do a pilot hole in the middle of the weld. You don't go through the whole, obviously the whole panel. Try and go through as far as this top piece as you can. It's about a 1/8 drill, might be a little bit less. I drill that pilot hole first to make sure I'm drilling in the centre of the weld. The next thing I do is to then use the spot weld drill. Now, mostly I've been using a 6mm drill. That's a spot weld drill. Flat across the top, just a little dimple on the top there, which coincides with the pilot hole I've already done. So, having drilled the pilot hole, then I use this drill. It's going to be a bit noisy. I apologise in advance. that. It's a bit hard to talk with the noise of the compressor, let alone the drill. Now, one of two tools I use to split the weld, either a paint scraper, which I would normally hit with a wooden mallet. My weapon of choice is an old stainless steel knife. Reasonably flexible, but quite strong, fairly long, and I can hit it with a hammer. Now, there are commercial tools you can use, and I do have them. They tend to, well, they've got a much thicker profile here. They'll certainly split the weld, but they'll damage the panels. This doesn't damage the panel as much. So I'll just see if these top ones will split. Okay, they've almost split. What I need to do is just to work the drill into the weld a little bit more. The problem is I actually need to be on the other side, right in front of the camera. So I'll just turn the camera off while I do that. So they're just catching on the bottom ends of the welds. So what I'll do is to get this, and I'll concentrate the cutting on the bottom of the weld. Now, I've just re-drilled those. If they still cause a problem, you can go to a larger spot weld drill. That's an 8mm. I use that occasionally. Most should be able to get out with a 6mm, although you find sometimes the contact of the spot is different in some places. So some places the 6mm is, if you've got it centralised, will drill it out, but other places the spot seems to be quite large, hence the larger drill. Now I should be able to knock those, or separate those. Anyway, so at this stage all of the top welds are undone. I've got to take off the bottom, but I'm not bothering about separating welds, mainly because this panel is just shot. It's all rusted out. So what I'll do is I'll just make a rough cut with this saw all the way along, just to separate the panel from its rusted flange, and then I should just be able to pull this out. So that's what I'm about to do.